what if you want to do actual full-on 3D objects on 3D text in After Effects? So if you have After Effects, it now actually comes with Cinema 4D Lite. So Cinema 4D is one of these 3D animation and modeling programs. In After Effects, you get Cinema 4D Lite. It doesn't have all the features, but you can use it to create 3D objects, and it also powers the ability to do 3D text. So this Mars rover is a project I worked on a while ago. I do stuff like this on stream. It's on Twitch. If you're interested in this, come join in. What I did is I imported that 3D model into Cinema 4D. It's basically a 3D object that you can then use lights and stuff. I'm not going to show you a full tutorial on how to use Cinema 4D because that's a whole new set of stuff, but you can add lights, relight things, and bring them in. You can create simple shapes in here. You can add in primitives like cubes and things like that. So if I add in a cube, scale that down. So I just want to get a cube in here so you can see. Move that around in 3D space. Let me just actually scale this so we've got sort of a ground plane or something, just to give you an example. Well, it should update to replace. What I'm going to show you though is how to actually create 3D text. So let's create a new comp. If you remember in one of the previous classes, I showed you under the composition settings, there is the 3D renderer setting over here. So by default, it is on classic 3D. And this is the normal setting that you would have in After Effects. If I create text in here, so let's do, so here's my text. I'm going to make a 3D layer. It will be a 3D layer in 3D space, but it doesn't have like depth to it. So let's just add a camera in here. So now I can, rotate the camera around and do stuff with it. But I mean, if I go to the side, it's just a super thin layer over here. It doesn't actually have depth to it. You can fake this by, like duplicating your layer and moving it in space. So if I move this backwards, you can sort of fake 3D. But now you don't have to do this anymore. With this updated 3D engine, you can just switch the composition settings, 3D renderer, from classic 3D to Cinema 4D. The only problem is you do lose some features. So you can't use blending modes, you can't use track mats and layer styles, you can't use all types of masks, and some things like motion blur and shadow only layers and light transmission get turned off, but you get the option for extruded text and shapes, reflections, curved footage, and environment maps, and you can also bring in 3D models like that other thing that I told you about. So let's start off with the 3D text. You can also do this with shape layers. I'm just doing it with text because this is probably what you would be more interested in using it for. Now under geometry options, so not just material options, under geometry options, you can turn on bevels. So we can put let's see, convex bevel, and we can add extrusion. So if I increase the extrusion depth, we've got full proper 3D extrusion on this text. So if I rotate the camera around now, things will be a lot slower because it is doing full 3D stuff, but we can rotate and have full 3D text in here. It doesn't look amazing because we don't have lights. So what we can do is we can add a new light in here. Let's put this as, let's just do a point light and see how that looks. There we go. Lit up 3D text. So this will be a lot slower than the default renderer. So prepare for your renders to be slower. Don't just use this just for fun. You don't always need to have 3D stuff. It may be cool, but it might also not be cool. So remember, by default, lights do not have, well, objects do not have shadows enabled. So you'd have to go to the text under material options and turn on casting shadows. And then now it will calculate shadows from this text in the scene. There you go. So now you can sort of see the shadowed text and stuff. Someone a while ago asked about reflections. You can get reflections if you use this Cinema 4D renderer. So I've now got this text in here looking all dark and ominous. If I go down into the material options now, there is an option for reflection intensity. So if I turn that up to 100, now this text will reflect 100% like a mirror. So now the red base in here is reflecting on this text. If you want it to be sort of a rough surface, so like it's not a perfect mirror, but sort of, I don't know, brushed aluminium or something like that, you can turn the reflection sharpness down. By default, it's on 100. If you turn this down to like 20, it will be sort of rougher reflections. But that'll slow down your renderer even more. So you can see this little blue bar is calculating the frame, just this one frame. And then you'll see that the reflections will sort of get this glossy, sort of rough reflection finish to it when this frame finishes. There you go. You get really cool effects. This is just using the default settings. If I go to composition settings again, under 3D renderer, I can go to options for Cinema 4D, and you can increase the quality. But just remember, this will change the length of time that your renders take. If you want to add 3D objects with Cinema 4D, just in your project panel, you can right-click and you can say New Maxon Cinema 4D file. It'll choose where you want to save this to, so you can just say this example. And then you can edit this in Cinema 4D. So you can see this is example.c4d file. Now this can open up in Cinema 4D. It will ask you for the light version to register. You just have to give them your email. You can also get I think it's a 14-day free trial of the full version of Cinema 4D. But the light version can just import objects and stuff like that. So let's just let's just do a primitive object over here, or whatever. Let's find a figure. So there we go. We've got a human shape in here. And I'm just going to say save. I can go to After Effects now. We can drag in our example object into the scene. There we go. So now we have our little human figure in here. What we can do is, then is extract the data from things. So if you want to get cameras from your Cinema 4D file, if you set up cameras and lights in here, you can extract them from the file. Or you can say camera use comp camera. So that'll use the camera from your After Effects file for your 3D layer. So then it should now make this figure fit in 3D space over here. I personally don't use this. If I'm doing 3D stuff, I use Blender. It's a 3D software that you can do all this sort of stuff with, and it's actually way faster to work with than this. If you're comfortable working with After Effects, where you have a project where you just want to have something fit in, you can use these and bring them in. There's that ground plane that I added in earlier. And you can have textures and stuff on your models, and it's quite nice that they've got this built in now. So you can actually work with 3D objects in After Effects. So there's a lot of weird and interesting things that I've covered today. I hope some of you find that interesting. If you do enjoy 3D stuff and stuff like that, as I said, I do stream things like this on Twitch. It's Photon Wind on Twitch if you want to see that stuff. Right. Yeah, I covered a lot of stuff and I went really fast and things didn't always go perfectly, but I hope you found this interesting and get some ideas for future projects and stuff that you can do. After Effects is actually, as you can see, really powerful with the amount of things that you can do. Thank you.